The age-old practice of workplace sabotage remains alive and well in Singapore, and unhappy workers, in fact, have become ever more creative in getting back at their companies with help from technology. Deleting files containing months of hard work from a server and spitting into the food at a food processing facility, these are just some of the ways that disgruntled employees have sabotaged their employers in the last year. The most common causes of workplace sabotage: anger regarding wages, perceptions of favoritism, a lack of training, or the way staff have been treated. While industry players have noted that the number of workplace sabotage have remained constant over the years, it is technology that has made sabotage more subtle and harder to detect. With us in the studio now is journalist Cheryl Teh to tell us more. Hey Cheryl.
Hi Dylan.
Now Cheryl, welcome to the show. Briefly tell us, how has tech changed the power dynamics between employer and employee?
So I think that the main point here is that tech has shifted the power balance in favor of the employee. Number one, there are more employees working for a company than there are supervisors. So if one supervisor were to take charge of keeping an eye on every employee on an entire tech system, that would be virtually impossible. So in this case, this opens up sort of many pathways for employees to, if they are so disgruntled as to do so, to manipulate information in the system, to delete shared files, and even their co-workers' hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
Now Cheryl, going on of what you're saying, give us some examples of how people actually go about, sabotaging their workplaces using technology.
Yes. So I interviewed representatives from 5 different companies, and one really stood out in my mind because an employee who had mild to severe mental disease had actually gone into the system after hours, managed to access the system and delete shared files that contained work over 6 months, right before the night of a major pitch. So I think this is rather alarming that this could happen. It is demonstrative of the fact that there are very few security safeguards in place that are barriers to these people actually being able to do so.
Right.
I think there was also this instance where there were employees who managed to steal information from a private server where only their bosses had access to it. So this resulted in a competitor actually having the same files, which is very disturbing if you think about it. Yes. Yeah.
So what you're saying, this brings about challenges when it comes to policing workplace sabotage. So what can be done to kind of prevent this, or at least mitigate this from happening?
Well, I'm no expert in workplace sabotage, but from what I've found, new safeguards are very useful in actually deterring employees from doing so. I think number one is deterrence. Number two is being able to actually prevent these things from happening. So systems need to be safeguarded from within, and this requires the help of computer experts, people who know more than the average person in the office, who can guard against these things happening. And obviously, this doesn't exclude manual labor. For example, workers on a line in a food processing company. I interviewed one representative from a food processing company who said that there were workers who spit into the food, which is really gross, and we should safeguard against that as well. Yes.
So are you suggesting, like, for example, installing or putting more passwords needed? So like, for example, the case that you gave about deleting shared files.
Yes.
Would that be a possible solution?
I think that might be one possible solution, but it's also encrypting certain amounts of information and really restricting that access, meaning that you need two-factor authorization to get through your supervisor's account. So I think that could help. Unless the supervisor is the one who is creating the problem, in which case I can't help them.
Well, thank you, Cheryl, for coming on the show and sharing more about this. Now, those were the top stories for the day. For more news and videos, do head on down to our website at straitstimes.com. I'm Dylan Ang. See you tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.